Good morning and welcome back to Go Create Craft. I'm Natalie and I do have Ian with me today as well. So I thought today we'd kind of spin the wheel and see what we come up with. So I'm using our new app, and good news is we're going to be launching that so you can all play for free on the website. The mobile app will have a small charge, but website is free of charge and you can play with that, and the link will be going up on the website probably in the next couple of days. So let's dive on in. So in our app we have our inspiration creator, which is going to come up with some random prompts, is probably the best word, for those moments where you just are faced with, I have time to craft and I don't know what to craft at all. So first of all, you need to roll the dice, which may or may not change its name to spin the wheel. I'm not sure. Okay, so interesting combination. Nordic frost, frame within frame. Fair enough. Plant pot cover. Okay. I think we might skip the plant pot cover bit, but we might go for something a bit floral inspired. And colour washing. So this could be interesting, and seeing how we kind of bring that theme into the design.
You could always spin the project again.
I could. I think I'll spin that middle dial again and let's see what we get. And then it does the technique as well. Okay, that's fine. It's obsessed. Thank you. Concertina mini book and Fussy Cutting. Now, dare I try the challenge mode and see what that comes up with. I may or may not use this because it depends on how long it gives me. So, first of all, needing to use acetate. Okay. And time 45 minutes. That's not a bad time for a stream, is it? He's looking at me and saying, really? We've got things to do today. Okay, we'll see how it goes. If we do it in 45 minutes, we'll consider that a win. So let me write those down really quickly so I can remember those. So Nordic frost, which is basically all shades of blue. Frame within frame. And I did say I would do some digital work today, so I'll try and feature that in the design work. A Concertina mini book. May not get the whole thing decorated, but I'll at least get a book. And with fussy cutting. Love a challenge. Okay. So let's hop on over to Canvas Workspace and we'll get started from there. There we go. And let's make that nice and big. So if you have any questions, don't be afraid to pop them in the chat. I can see the chat as well as Ian can, so we're bound to be able to answer questions one way or another. So Concertina mini book. Let's make it not too big, given time limit, and we're going to go frame within frame with it. This is interesting. Let's start off with a fairly small book. This is where I wish I'd measured my sizes on my little book guide. It could have been a much easier make. Oh, there we go. So let's pop in a rectangle. And I'm really not going to go huge with this. So let's go to edit and size. So at the moment it's 10 centimeters by 7 centimeters. And ignoring width and height because I've just done that rotation. So it's 10 centimeters tall, 7 centimeters wide, which is pretty good size really. And I'm going to use that as a kind of template to go on, because obviously with a concertina book you're going to just basically cut a strip of paper and fold it. So let's start with our cover, and we're going to go for a frame. So let's get another rectangle, because as it said, frame within frame. Let's go that one, and we can duplicate it. So I'm just going to go to the layers, down to duplicate, and press and hold shift, and we're going to size that down again. And then on this inner frame we can use offset, because then we keep an even border all the way around, which you don't if you're just resizing, if you note round here. So let's go to edit, down to the bottom, offset. We want to go inwards, and 5mm might actually be okay. Let's try it. Yep, that's not bad. Okay, so we have our frame within frame, tick. If we cut that from blue papers, that would be another tick. Now we need to do some fussy cutting as well. Now, that could be a bit more challenging. So before I go too far, let's find some paper that will help me. So I'm bearing in mind the colour scheme of the Nordic blue. So I have some cornflower blue, but that's still a bit on the greeny side. Let's go for that one. Moonlight Song, old dependable. So this is a paper boutique pad, and I'm just going to flick through. Okay, that has some elements that we can fussy cut, so pop that one over on the display. And before we go too far, what I'm going to do next is I'm going to send all that to my machine. So just export it, and at the moment we haven't grouped anything, so that we can still move things around. So we're going to send it via the internet. Okay, so that is now ready for my machine to pick up. I haven't picked it up yet, it's just kind of floating in the ether, but let's go from there and we'll head across to the desk. So there's our Moonlight Song, and to that we need to add some white card. Oh. So I have some 12 by 12 white card that we can use to kind of get us started. And let's go from there. Do apologise for the noise. Might have to move my mic slightly. Okay. One sheet 12 by 12. Now I'm going to pick out the paper I want to fussy cut with. So you want something where you can see pretty much a clear area around what you want to cut around. So if I hold that up a little closer, we could go for the little moon area here, or we could go for the larger decal around here. So I think that might be a good option. So that's option one. Another one is this one. So again, we've got a good clear area. It doesn't have to be white in the background. So let's go with those, because no doubt one of those will end up being our frame, one will end up being our fussy cut, and then we're going to need some ink as well. Rather handily, I have my VersaFine Clair in medieval blue to hand, so that might be an option. Let's dive on in. So what I want is my cutting mat. And I'm going to start off with my white card first. So you want to load that onto the mat. Now, I'm probably going to do 2 copies of this so that I have a front and a back of my little Concertina book. And then I may do my actual book covers a little bit bigger so that this kind of sticks on top rather than wrapping around. So Ian's very helpfully putting up the prompts for today so that you can see those in the chat. And I'm going to wake up my machine. Try and cut out a little bit of the glare for everyone. Okay, so first of all, I'm going to load my mat. And grab my pencil eraser. And then we can dive on in. So we've sent our file via Wi-Fi. So what we need to do is go to retrieve data. It came from the cloud. Gonna think about it. And there we go. We've got our frames. I'm going to go to edit, multi-select, select all. Okay. Object edit, group, which is the little circle and triangle in a container. We can then duplicate it. So if we're going to go to number, and we know that we need at least 2 copies. But because we've got that inner frame as well, I'm going to actually give myself 4. Go, okay. They're going to kind of be all over the top of each other, don't worry. If it helps, space them out so that you can see them distinctly separate to each other. So, first copy is going to be our actual cover. So I'm going to ungroup that. And we can delete all the other rectangles from it. I'm going to go, okay, bin, okay, bin, okay, and bin. So then we've got our plain cover. Let's pop this up into that corner and add one more of that. So that's our front and back cover done. Then we've got our frames to worry about. So let's go to this one next. So again, I'll ungroup it, go okay. And we can use our arrow keys to flick through. So this time I'm just going to work with this outer frame. So I can ditch that one. I'm going to tap my arrow twice to get to that outside frame and delete that one. Okay. Now let's show you another trick. We're going to go into multi-select, and this time we're going to use our window. So this is where we have our 2 arrows. So rather than try and click that center rectangle without moving it, we're just going to use our arrows to actually get around that area. Go okay, and then we've got both selected. Go okay, object edit, and group that one. So now we have that frame, and again we need 2 of those. Okay, now we need our inner frame. So again, ungroup, okay. Use our arrows to get to the ones that we need to delete, which are the 2 outside ones this time. And again, we can use that same window, slide down to the top, across to the left, this. So it's around our shapes, okay. Okay, and group. And again, we can have 2 of those. Okay. And our last group, we'll ungroup that, and all we need is the center panel. Or actually, rather than the center panel, go one to the outside. So that means that when we put our frame on top, we're not going to have like a white area or anything lifting. So I'm going to go, okay. So delete the middle one. Okay. We're going to skip that one to go to the next side. So there we go. Okay. And that one. So that does our 2 center panels. And again, we're going to edit. And we'll do 2 of those as well. Okay. So at this point, we need to save our design because we've got all of our elements that we want to cut from different papers on one mat. So we'll go okay, okay again, save. And you can choose where you want to save it to. I don't seem to have my USB attached, so I'll save it to the machine. It does say that you can't ungroup it once you've saved it, but that's not technically true because if you take it back into Canvas, you can ungroup it in there. So just go okay. And there you go. It's going to come up with whatever number file your machine is on. It doesn't give it a logical name. So we go okay. And then we've got all our elements. So you can decide at this point if you want to cut all of those elements from white as a backing first of all, before then moving to your pattern papers, or if your paper is substantial enough, you can actually skip a few of those cuts. Now, as we're cutting into a 12 by 12 piece of card, you might want to save some card. If we go to our space saving little button down here and tap that, we can actually change how it's laying out those shapes. So if we go to the top one, it's going to rotate shapes so that you can get as much into a tighter space as possible, like so. And then you can go from there. Now, sometimes if you've got smaller shapes and openings in other shapes, it will manage to pop them in, but you do have to kind of have them subtracted and stuff. Okay, which we can't do on a machine. So we'll go okay. And basically that goes on your pattern interval. So if you are working with, say, fabric where you need a larger pattern interval to prevent fraying, make sure you set that before you do that function. We'll go okay. We want to cut. And I'm going to go to my black blade. Speed 1.5 got is off. Pressure I'm going to take down just a touch. Go okay. We'll see how that goes. And off we pop. So while that's cutting, if you have any questions, pop them in the chat. If you're watching this back after, pop them in the comments, and I do respond to comments. So, as I said, the web app is going to be free for you to play with. So, do have a play and see what you think. The new book is now available for independent bookstores and booksellers to actually purchase and order. So, you should be able to order it. And make sure you're not paying over the odds. So the price should be around $13.44 ish. If it starts with a 3, it's definitely wrong. And if you're enjoying the scan and cut work, well, there's still the scan and cut books available as well. This microphone is not liking this jumper. It keeps flopping in places that shouldn't flop in. Let me see if I can pin it a bit better. There we go. That should stay put. Okay. So I'm going to tap on finish cutting and I'm going to check that it's cut. Always check before removing it from the mat. And don't just lift one corner and assume that that's it, everything's cut. If you can peel away the entire card, it should be all right. Fingers crossed. So let's unload that and take that back to the desk. So we have our frames. I'll be kind of careful with these thinner ones. There we go. And we have a wider frames. And we have our 2 covers. And then we have our 2 centre panels. So let's make sure we get the right ones. That one and that one. Like so. Which should be the same size as the outer of our inner frame. Like so. There we go. The rest of those can be set aside for another project, or just discarded. The choice is yours. Rectangles are always useful. Okay, so let's next go to our fussy cutting so that we tick that box next. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. I think I'm going to go with that one. And we can pop that back into the machine. Get my head if one screwed on. Right. Let's load my mat in. Now, because we've saved our design, we can just do home and reset and not worry about whether we're going to need those shapes again. And we can hop to our fussy cutting. Now, because we're cutting directly out of the paper that we want to scan, we can go to direct cut. We can choose whether we want to use the machine for the tracing or the computer. I'm going to go for the machine. Now, with scanning, black and white is high contrast, colour is low contrast. In this case, I'm going to go colour. And we'll just tell it to go. I'm going to frame an area around what I actually want to fussy cut. So I think we could actually potentially get this one over here. So we'll see how that goes. Okay. But you want to leave a good border around so that you can see all the way around that design. And no, it's not going to do that one. So it's just a little bit too close to its edge. Let's see if it can pick up this one here instead. It's got two chances because it's got light at the back of it, which is never a good idea. There we go. So we've got our circle is where we actually want to go. And then it's picked up all these elements around the outside. So this was a question on one of the forums the other day. You just go to ignore object size and you're going to increase that ignore object size until all the shapes you don't want to cut have turned grey. There we go. So once they've all gone grey and kind of vanished, but your cut line is still nice and black, go OK. And then we can go OK again. Now, this is cutting out a nice little circle. If you're cutting out something that's really intricate, sometimes the smoothing can help. But for now, I'm just going to go OK. And we've got our little circle. Seems a shame to cut out the middle, but because of the active area of where it can actually cut, sometimes you'll find that ones around the outside just aren't in the right place. And again, we can put an offset on it if we want to kind of include some of that cream background. And we can also edit and apply funky shapes to it. So these are quite cool, but for actual fussy cutting, you want to make sure it's on that top one. Let's go OK. We're going to go to cut. And this time, let's go for my vinyl blade. So because I'm cutting paper rather than card, the vinyl blade can give us a better cut. Morning, Mum. Hope everything's okay. Okay, so again, we'll check our cut first. Popped off lovely and cleanly. So let's unload that from the mat. It's going to throw up an error saying when unloading the mat, the position of it might change. That's okay because we don't need to do that again. So there's our moon, and let me hold that nice and close. There we go. And now we just need to do a couple of decorative frames. So let's go to this blue. In actual fact, I'm going to change that. Let's change it to something a bit more oomph. Technical term. Just because we want to keep in with our colour theme. Let's go with that one. Okay. As I said, I forget my head if it wasn't screwed on. So, I'm going to load my mat. I'm going to go home to reset. Go back to retrieve data. It's on our machine. Jump down to the bottom and we can go back to our frames. So this time we just need, probably our bigger frames would actually be better. So these over here. everything else can be deleted. So I'm going to go to Edit, Multi-Select, Select All, and then tap and tap. And we can bin everything else. Bye-bye. And then we'll move these over here. And again, we can do that same paper saving. Top one. And it's going to bridge those up to the top. We can check on our mat that we've got enough paper to cover that area, which we have. So let's go OK. And cut. It's definitely been far more sensitive than it usually is. It's weird. And same settings as last time, as we know that they work, so off it pops. Okay, again, do a quick check. That's all fine. Unload the mat. And frame one. Now, obviously, if it was directional, you wouldn't want to do that rotation, but for what we've kind of got in our frames, it doesn't matter. It's more of a texture now than being obviously flowers anyway. And I'll pop those rectangles to one side. Who knows, I may come back to those in a minute. So let's pick one side first of all, and we can actually do a really quick little mount onto our white card. It's easier to apply the glue to the card than it is the paper, because the paper will fight back. Like so. Make sure you get the frame the right way round, because we've got that wider area at the bottom. And we can set that to one side with a weight on it. I'm right off, am I? There we go. So let me pop that there for a second. The ink pad's not very heavy, but it will do in a pinch. Let's do that again. So next frame. Let's try and bend this back a bit. They do tend to curve a little bit just when you're removing them from the mat. So my tip there would be to actually remove the mat from the back. There we go. And wet glue will give you wiggle room so that you can try and get it as perfect as possible. Joy the scanner cut is that each shape should be an exact match. There we go. So that's one frame done. Next, let's go to our little frame and our centerpieces. Now, we could put that same pattern in the background of our cover, because we're going to have this frame that sits over the top like so. Choice is yours. Now I'm pondering, do I get inky? I think some people voted for me to get messy, so you never know. Let's see if I've got a stamp that I I could use. Ding, ding, ding. Something weird and wonderful. Mr. saying, hey, got a stamp you can use. Use your own. Okay, I'll use my own. Stamp platform. Jolly good question. Let's grab my stamps. Very quickly. Grab that one. So, just going to grab my little Eureka. And let's work onto these bits. So we can probably fit in frame and centre like so. And frame like so. So I may change my mind, but if I stamp it first, no going back then. And let's go for big flower there. Let's go for a little flower, probably about there. Yeah, I'm going to let these kind of overlap and pop out a little leaf there too. That can go on there. And can we fit in a little sentiment? We probably can, so let's go for that one. And what I'll do is stamp this once and then I can reposition and stamp again. Now this is going to be the fun bit because I know for a fact this is going to pull some of that card up when I close my stamp platform because my stamps are a little bit sticky. But then it's the sticky that helps them stick to the platform. See that? That's okay. Just pop them back roughly where they were. And we'll just check on this side because that text that it's still level. Nothing worse than having it wonky. And let's just there we go. So for those of you joining late, I'm going to use my VersaFine Claire and Medieval Blue to go with our prompt of Nordic Frost. There we go. So that one's done and finished. Oh, that one didn't quite work. That's okay. Let's turn it over and try again, shall we? And let's move this big flower down here. Let me show you on. I'm going to move. Oh, that one sort of want to try and get these little frames down the bottom. So about there. Yeah, that's looking about right. Now, let's try that again. There we go. That's better. So now that I've done with that one, I can take that one off for a second. I will clean them later, honest. I do. I'm happy with that one, so I'm going to take that one off there for now, rather than risk smudging it. Let's just reposition and stamp those. So about there. And the two little ones can finish off the frames. So you can go there. ish. Now just bear in mind that these are probably going to move when we close the lid. That was just fighting back full stop. There we go. And there may be enough ink on there actually to do enough in the impression, which there is, like so. There we go. So now we've got our 2 stamp frames. Job done. Let me pop that one back on there and I can clean those off. Show my stamps properly.
You didn't show them in the packet, what they are.
Oh, sorry. Right, let me. That threw me then, because obviously stamps are dirty, but there you go. So, show me stamps properly. These will be up on the website. They're not up just yet, but they will be. So we have one stamp that we can cut out with our scan and cut and has the registration marks ready. And then we have these embellishment stamps that we can use to actually 3D up our flowers. And you can shape them with embossing tools and so on and so forth, in much the same way as you would as a flower design that you've cut out. So we have individual petals, so that we've got to match the 2 sizes. We can go bigger and actually make our flowers huge if we want to, using this one here. And then we have 3 sentiments. So we have delight in the innocence of flowers. If friends with flowers, you'd have hay fever. Bloom in wonderful colour. Okay, so I'll set that to one side for cleaning in a bit. So let's have a look at what we've got so far. So we've got our frames, and I think just to make it pop against this background, I might just do a little bit of ink blending, because at the moment it might get a bit lost. But I couldn't do that if I tried. Just match up the flower on the frame. Total fluke. If I did try to do that, I couldn't have done that. Oh, dear. So I think I might just do a little bit of ink blending. Oh dear. And I'm going to chuck ink sponge on the floor. Just cause. So I could use a stencil actually, couldn't I? Why didn't I think of that? I could do is show it. So this matches the stamps. So it has the same leaf motif, and then there's a flower one to go with the flowers as well. And then there's actually a colouring stencil too. So that's not going to stay there for a minute. Let's get that, and because I don't want a messy desk, can't see it looking, let's oh dear, cack-handed today, I tell you. Right, let's move these bits so I can get me mat. There we go. Hopefully you can just about see that. I'll try and keep up to the top of the mat. So let's get me little frames, because it's those I want to give more of a pop to. And use what I have left on my sponge, and I'm just going to pop. It's going to be really hard for you to see, but let me try and move that up. Stencil over the top. And I'm just going to stencil through like so. Let's rotate it. And down here too. So a little bit more ink, not too much. Whoop, don't move. Come here. Thank you. Like so. one about there. Okay. And I'm just going to use what's left on my sponge around the edges, get rid of that white edge. This is usually where I get really messy fingers. Bit higher. Should have brought my chair over. There we go. I think I'm going to have to move my stool up so that when I stream I can sit on my stool. It's a bit easy to get it where I need to. There we go. Just blend that. And I now have lovely blue fingernails. So again with the other one, let's go in there. And it gives it this look of like a nice, sorry, there we go, a nice kind of navy fabric because you've got that kind of softness to your ink blending. Just going to put one in there. So if you think about where your white areas would be for the background, you're kind of going into those to give it that sense of having a coloured background. So there's a little bit in there, like so. And again, just around the outside. And you can do this so much neater than I can because I'm just trying to power through to get at least the covers done. So I might do a part 2 for how to put the concertina together. Because then I'll actually do some proper book covers for it, I think. So let me set all that to one side, clean that off in a bit. Lots of cleaning to do. I have to get some wipes. So let's pop this together. So first of all, let's go to our front cover. And I've probably just put a fingerprint in that, but it's fine. You get the idea. So I'm just gluing that outside of our narrow frame, which if you remember goes on top of our center panel. And like so. Apologies for mucky fingers. There we go. So got that there. And that's going to have our little fussy cut element in. And we'll do the same for this one. Try and get the ink off my fingers before I try to stick this down. So again, on my frame, da 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 da. I think I've got next any glue on that side. Can't draw a straight line today, that's for sure. And that one's going to go on there. And get that so that it goes edge to edge. Can just pop those on there for a moment. So with our little moon, or whatever you fussy cut, we're going to stick that into the centre. If you can pick it up. There we go. So we've got a little bit of a tree line going on with our moon, so we'll put that there. Again, put that back on there for a second. And then we can move to our actual cover card. Let's move that out of the way. So remember, we've strengthened this frame already. So we should just be able to stick that roughly with even space at the top and the two side edges and a bigger space at the bottom, like we planned. And we'll do the same for this one while the other two are still sticking, because I don't want to move them and accidentally nudge them. So, mint more glue. Da, 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 da. There we go. Oh. Try and keep my hair out the way. And there we go. Now, hopefully these are stuck and we can go and stick those on. So we have our front panel, and you just want to try and wiggle it in, and you'll hear when it's in the right place because it kind of clicks into that frame. And one for the back panel. So it's up to you now whether you want to make your accordion, landscape or portrait. So if I put those there, I'm going to call it a day there, and we'll come back and make the accordion and the covers next time. So take care for now, and bye. Yeah,